Can you talk about for 30 minutes with no preparation?
Hey there, I'm John Chen. Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of What Could You Talk About for 30 Minutes with Absolutely No Preparation. This is episode number 4, and happy Friday. Look, you made it to another Friday. I'm very happy to have this guest here. I think I've met her through Tika Talks. We must have met through a whole bunch of other stuff. And her topic is going to be launch your big idea and multiply your impact with and income. Let's say hello to Dorita. Hey, Dorita, what's going on?
Hey, John, how are you?
Fantastic. Are you ready for this?
Ready as I'm going to be.
Ready as you're going to be. Actually, let me set my timer. Where did my clock go? Oh, geez. I love live. All right, here we go. I also been setting my other 30-minute timer. Okay. Again, your topic is launch your big idea and multiply your impact and income for 30 minutes. And let's go.
Okay, so I picked this topic as something that I could talk about for 30 minutes with little to no preparation because it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's the thing that I've even spent the last year, all my money in coaching and launching a business that was specifically focused on this area. And I say launch your big idea and multiply your impact and income because I think that a lot of us have something inside of us that we're really meant to do, that we're really purposed to do, that we don't do because we think we don't know how. We think it's not time. We think we're not ready. We think we don't know that somebody wants it. We don't know that it's ready to go to market. And I think it's a shame that so many people really take their big idea to the grave. And so the concept of the big idea isn't necessarily new, but I wanted to explore it. And I've been exploring it all year with different people and in some cohort groups. And what it does allows people to really put on the table and say out loud that thing that they've been dreaming about doing. I talk to a lot of people, and when you ask them what they really want to be doing, it's usually not the thing they're doing, particularly if they're working a job someplace and maybe they've been unfulfilled. But they start really talking about what's really in their heart, what's their heart's desire. And so, on a plane or sitting on a beach or in a picnic setting or whatever, someone is likely to look over and just simply say, I really wish I could do XYZ. I really wish I were doing XYZ. I love it when I see this and I wish I could be doing it. And when you ask the question, why aren't you? It's usually a myriad of things that could really be resolved with a few steps. And I guess really some confidence in yourself and deciding that you're going to really invest some time and energy into yourself and into your own idea. It's not to say that there's not a lot of stuff going on in the mindset that has to do maybe with some fear, anxiety, shame. Maybe they've spent money trying to do it and it didn't work, or really just simply not knowing how to do it. But I think when it comes down to issues of just not knowing how and needing support, there's an easy answer to all of that. And mostly it's just speaking it into existence. It's just telling other people, maybe somebody who's been ahead of you in the same process, someone who's done it before, that's willing to spend some time and to give you some steps and some tools to take as they're going on, they're going on their journey as well. I think what most people don't know is that a lot of people really don't have it together. And no matter how far out somebody is, even they're experiencing something at their level that they've never experienced before. And so heard it a lot of times where they say new level, new devil, in the sense that you're always, every time you accomplish something, you're going to find that there's something else to accomplish. So that feeling that you're going to get there you have to get in your head, I think, knowing that that's really not ever going to happen. That's not what it is. I think it's just the feeling of accomplishment to say that I'm going to set a goal out there, that I'm going to work to achieve that goal. And when I get there, great. And then I'm going to make another goal. And I'm going to go maybe higher or do more. But this even is about things that are small, John. They don't even have to be big ideas that are earth shattering. They could just be things that help in their neighborhood, or something, that moves their product, their either project forward, or, something they've been trying to make or do. And the biggest thing is when people have an idea, really, when they know in their heart and soul that actually nobody's doing it, they really are solving a problem. And I think that's the scariest, because they're trying to find somebody else to see what it looks like. And the truth of the matter is that they were given that vision because they were the one purposed to do it for the first time. So I usually talk to people a lot about their big idea in terms of thinking of it like, what's the one thing, or the top 1, 2, or 3 things that you want to ideate? What problem do you solve? What is it? What have you thought about where you're saying, yeah, this is the thing? Right behind me, it's kind of funny right there. There's it's a statue. It's a silver metal thing that's an octopus. So people, I have likened the people that I work well with, and even myself, as an octopus. What does that mean? We have a lot of stuff going on in our head. We want to do a lot of stuff. Either we know how to do a lot of stuff, or we think we know how to do a lot of stuff, or we think that we want to know how to do a lot of stuff. But the issue really is, and then people are telling you all the time, you have to pick one and all of that. But for me, I can hold space for people that have a lot of different ideas, but I will tell you, you do almost have to work on one of them at a time. You really have to stop and say, let me focus, let me make a plan, let me prioritize the one thing. So we talk about the 3, because I'm really trying to determine, what are you super passionate about? What are you willing to put it all on the table for? What are you willing to lose money over? What are you willing to have friends and family who don't understand what you're doing, not support you? I love that octopus. And do you know why I picked that octopus? What's really, and I think you saw it recently, and it was nominated with the Oscars. My octopus teacher, is because they're really beautiful and they're all over the place. If you really look them up and read all about their tentacles and what's on them and what happens with them, I love their heads. They're super, super smart. They have a lot going on. But they actually don't have a skeletal system in their head. So when they, just like that, when they find a tight spot that they have to get through, then they change shapes and they adjust to the situation, and they make a move and they go for it, and they can go through the tiniest of spaces, or they can attach themselves to things. In the movie, there's one where this octopus is covered all in these shells to protect himself from sharks and other things that would eat him up. And that's really how I liken people that I work with and that I talk to all the time, and that I love listening to their stories, because they're like an octopus. And so when it's time to make it through, and when all of the legs are flowing in one direction, it's really smooth. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is to get people to that space in their life. So we can talk about all the ideas they have. And then for the moment, we're going to prioritize, like, which one will they focus on? So after that, that's called, the I and the ideate phase that they go through. But the next thing that we talk about is, like, who's it for? Getting them to describe their perfect client. So who has that problem? Who is someone that needs what they have? And it's on the next slide, John. But it's just being specific about what are the descriptors of this perfect client. And that's everything. That's like, what are they like? When you think about someone that needs what you do or what you have, what's going on with them? Who are they? Where do they live? Where do they work? Where do they play? What do they like to do? So that you can really determine what they're listening to, what they're listening for, so that when you reach out and you start talking to them, they know very clearly that you're talking to them and they're your people and you're their people. So it's not hard to find people who really want what you have and what you do, because you're really speaking back in a language that they understand. You know, they're called like non-negotiables even. It's not so much that you're focused on what you don't want. It's just knowing that I want to operate this thing in a certain way, and I have to have some non-negotiables, or else I'll be chasing any and everything and everybody and doing anything and everything for everybody. And I will look up one day and I'm still not doing that thing that I want to be doing. And so it's always a good idea in the very beginning to sort of know what that looks like, and know what that feels like. And then on the journey, you can hone that a little bit better. And then you do what we all call course correct and do something different if that's not it. But at least having this conversation in your head early on will help you to at least recognize when you're going in the wrong direction and you're not working with the kind of people that you really want to be working with. So then on the E out of idea is engage your first client, and just find somebody who will pay you for that thing, for that service or for that product. And so you can use it as an opportunity to either learn, earn, or get social proof. And so get your first client. It's not about getting all the money or anything like that. But as you do it, what do you need to know about that client? And if you could flip to the next slide. What do you want to make? You know, sometimes people say, what should I charge for that? And another person really can't tell you that. They can give you some idea of maybe what's going on in the market. If they're similar to you, they can tell you things they've tried. Maybe you need to know some expenses that are going to be involved in that. But whatever that looks like, sometimes you're going to put a number out there and you're going to learn a lesson about that number. It's going to be a good number. It was going to be like not so good number, or you're going to charge somebody for something and they're going to do it. And when it's all said and done, you're going to be like, I will never do that again for that amount of money, and you'll fix it. So I think you don't have to have all of the answers in advance, but you're getting this first client so that you can learn, that you can earn, or that you can get social proof for what you're doing. What makes them a raving fan? What is it about the experience they had with you that they want to tell other people about that experience, so that they want to refer you? They want people to know who you are. And people are going to come to you and say, hey, I heard you did a great job for my friend or my colleague or whatever, and I really need the same result. And so in doing that, you have learned a lesson, and you've learned even what you might not have done so well and what you need to adjust on. So my thing is always put it out there so that you can learn, you can earn, or you can do social proof. And you can be doing all three, or you might just be learning more about what you need to know before you really take it to market. And then you need to assess the resources that you have and what you need to launch. And so there's some items here on this PowerPoint, but there's a lot more in each of these items. So you're going to map out a business plan. And we're not talking about that big document that's got a spiral bound or whatever, and it's huge. But you are going to have to write out how are you going to make money doing it, and then what are the expenses in doing it. And if you don't know, this is where you have to do your research. I see a lot of people go out and do things, and I'm not as risky as a lot of people. I think I'm more on the conservative side. I've seen people go sign building leases and all of that. I think that's okay in some situations, but I also think that it should be done with some sense of knowing what you're getting into and what you're going to have to pay. If you have no idea where revenue's coming in after month 2, you should evaluate that, and you have to take an honest look at it. And maybe you need help with that because you're invested in it personally. And once your feelings are in it, it's like giving birth. It's like a child. It's something that's in you. It's something that you don't want to, give up control over. So sometimes you're going to need a third party to help you process that information. And then you build the roadmap to launch. So what's the timeline? What has to happen along the timeline? And sometimes I find myself in a situation, I'm working with someone and the timeline is way shorter than it needs to be. And all you need to understand in doing that is that if you normally would have a 1 year window and you come at this in a 4 month window, then everything that needed to have happened in the previous 8 months is all front loaded in that initial 4th month. So no one's really telling you no, but just understand that what could have taken 12 months and been done in a certain way, you're stacking on top of each other whenever you decide to start and whenever you decide to launch. And anything can happen with two things: money and time. So if you give yourself a little bit of time, perhaps you're going to spend a little more money than you would have. If you give yourself a lot more time, then sometimes you can save yourself a lot of money and a lot of heartache along the way. And then you want to create a checklist of things that you're going to need. And honestly, you need to add the people that you're going to need. I think in every big idea that launches, there's a lot of stuff that we do as solopreneurs that we can do alone. But over time, as you're building and you're scaling, you're going to have to start adding people. That doesn't mean that you have to pay them as employees. There's contractors. But, there aren't a lot of new things going on. There are people who have had experience with what you're doing and can help you on that journey. And so I would just be thinking about that. At what phase do you need a virtual assistant? At what phase are you going to need maybe a graphics artist? At what phase are, you're going to go to Fiverr for how long? Or are you actually going to contract with someone who can do work for you on a consistent basis? Are you good with numbers and do you need a bookkeeper? And then after the bookkeeper, when do you need a CPA to help you with your taxes to make sure that you don't get in any trouble with that particular thing? And then you want to create a timeline. So what has to happen when? So the smart way to think about that is to begin with the end in mind and work backwards. So when do you want to launch, and where and how, and all of those questions are asked way out at the launch date. And then work backwards to where you are currently and what all needs to happen on that journey and when does it need to happen. And then one of the last things you really want to consider as you're launching this first time and this big idea is a list building strategy. What are you going to do to attract people to what you're doing? What are you doing that is attracting them at a level that they can just know that you're doing that thing? How do you move them up in the level that most people will call a funnel or a sales funnel? But how do you get them to increase in their know, like, and trust for you? And I think someone was talking with John last week about that. And so it's really a theme that's going to keep evolving for you, is how do people know that I know, like, and trust you? So what is it that they have to do with you? How many times, in what capacity, in what proximity to you, before they feel comfortable pulling out their credit card and giving you their number so that they can move forward with you? And so that's an important thing to keep in mind. And so you have to build a customer journey so that you prepare them for the purchase that you're actually really wanting them to make for you. And so earlier today, I was reading an article. Actually, I think it was an email that I got from David Newman. And the interesting thing about it for me was that some people will say that you begin with the question of asking yourself why. And he had a whole series of questions that he asked where they started with the words how much. And so this is not my work. I'm just repeating what I read because I really found it interesting on this conversation about how to launch and are you ready and all of this sort of stuff. And it said it's not really one question, but it's a series of questions. And so some of those questions are, you're going to step out on your own and launch your big idea. So you have to ask yourself things like, how much do you want to work? How much do you want to earn? How much flexibility do you want? How much are you willing to give? How much do you care about your client's success? How much are you willing to serve? How much are you willing to help? Then how much are you willing to learn? How much are you willing to invest in yourself to learn? How much are you willing to unlearn? And how much are you willing to relearn? And how much are you in control of your own mindset, your attitude, and your beliefs? And I think that you have to ask yourself those questions, because at the end of the day, when it gets tough, those are the reasons that you're going to continue to do the work, or you're not going to continue to do the work. And so the next level of questions after that you have to ask yourself is, how much longer are you willing to wait for the business that you truly want? And when I say launch your big idea, it can be about a business, it might not be about a business, but typically for people that I work with, it's some sort of business. Even if you're gigging, even if you're doing it on the side in preparation for moving out of a full-time business that you have, if you are transacting with people, then you're doing business. The level to which you are actually in business for real, or you're a hobbyist, has to do with, are you really, making money and doing the transactions that are done in that way, in a professional way? Or are you just, hey, I do this, I don't care if I make money or not, I'm just sort of doing it as a hobby. And then how much sooner do you want to create the results that you know you deserve? How much are you willing to ask for help? The thing that I learned the most in the last 15 months is I'm totally open for help. There's no more building this in my silo, in my workshop, in a garage with the garage door down. I am totally about community and about sharing what I'm doing with other people and asking for help, and then receiving the help that they're giving. I talked about this earlier, but how much are you willing to invest? And that's really your time, your energy, your money, and your focus. Because there'll be things that you'll have to make quick decisions on, what you want to spend your money and where do you want to spend your time. I think, how much can you eliminate distractions? How much can you get over your fear? And so I want to be clear to say, it isn't that you're not going to have fear and that you're not going to have uncertainty. It's really a matter of, are you willing from time to time to push through it and to work through it, and not to be fearless, but to fear less on this journey? And so there are going to be times where you'll have to learn how to simplify, eliminate, delegate, outsource, partner, JV, collaborate, whatever that looks like for you. It takes a lot of focus, and it takes time when sometimes you just really don't feel like doing it. I'm super excited to kind of be on here talking to you today, because I really don't like speaking publicly, but my push through was, I'm going to do this. This is what I have to do. It's what I have to do to show up, to even meet the people that I want to serve. And I do believe that there's no coincidences. I believe that if somebody's watching this today and decides to reach out to me later, that all was meant to be. I am here for a reason. And if nothing else, I am here to work through what I had as a fear of doing this, and being willing to do it and willing to walk through that is going to open another door for me later. And I understand how that works. So, the question becomes, how long can you afford to play small and not to honor what's really going on in your head, what's really going on in your heart? When will you make a commitment to yourself to really do the things that you were designed and put here on this earth to do? And what do you need to get those done? And who do you need so that you can step out on that, and step out on, if you want to call it faith, if that's what you believe in, there's a faith for that, then I call it a faith. Otherwise, do you believe enough in yourself to put your big idea out there? So I challenge you today to say, yes, if nothing else, if I don't do anything else this week or this weekend, what I will do is give myself permission to speak out loud that thing that I know that I'm supposed to be doing. I will write it down, and I will make a commitment and put a timeline on it, that says, when am I going to follow up on this? And when am I going to act on this? And then start moving through the cycle of deciding, what do you need? Who do you need? What do you need to do? And when do you need to do it? And then I dare you, and I also celebrate you for launching your big idea. So, John, that's what I have.
Outstanding. All right, let's see. Let me come back here. We have about 6 minutes left. And so, and of course, the last piece you have here too, my launch date is, right?
Yeah, that's why I was saying, I dare you to say, hey, what is it? When you think about everything that we're talking about, it's, write it down and speak it out loud and tell someone about it. And I'm not saying tell them in a way where they have an opportunity to shoot holes in it or tell you they don't like it or tell you what's wrong with it. And definitely, you're not looking for maybe someone in your immediate circle that has no connectivity to it at all to be your advisor. They've not been there. They've not done that. You wouldn't ask them for things like when you go to a doctor necessarily, or you go to get your car fixed. There's just things that you know who knows what when you need an answer for that. And so maybe find another group of people who are encouraging each other to do those things. And that's actually, John, how I met you. And I'm trying to think, I don't know that it was Tika Talks, but I just know early on in the pandemic, what I knew that I needed to do to pivot to online was to start studying how to use Zoom. So I was in one space for it, but I was really looking. And I think when you launched your book, Engaging Virtual Events, and I saw it, it just, it came across and I'm like, well, now that's cool. And I just liked who you were as a person. I liked the way that you were coming across, and it was like, hey, who is this guy? And I think I just reached out to you, and I was like, honestly, I probably said something crazy like, who are you and what are you doing? And when's your stuff and can I come to it? And just started showing up. And I remember telling people when I went to the first event that you have, because you have those regular happy hours and get-togethers for people, that I was like, that was the nicest group of people. It just was, it didn't even matter what we were in there talking about. So it wasn't even going in there with, we all have this business idea and we're doing this and we're doing that. No, it was just really about like, hey, let's just come together. We're in a pandemic. Things are different in our lives. And now all of a sudden we're connected more than ever to so many people from around the world and the globe in one space at one time. And we have so much more in common if we're willing to come in and look at it and see what that is. And then just the communities that were built, that were just supporting other people, and people just saying, so what are you working on? Oh, okay. Oh, I know somebody, I'll refer you, or I can help you, or whatever that looks like. And really, honestly, sometimes it was about nothing, but this was a group that when I tell people, hey, your big idea, you want to go in groups like that and just say, I don't know, here's what I'm thinking about. And yeah.
Well, in big ideas, I can tell you this, which is your odds of your big idea becoming reality are much better if you actually talk about it as opposed to keeping it all in, right?
Well, here's the thing. My mantra is, we don't know what we don't know. And so what happens is we get this download. And I think that there's something about when you get this download, that's a sign that it is meant for you to do, because other people didn't get the download. You did. Even to the degree of whatever it was it said you're supposed to do. Like, I like you, John. Well, here's what I like about you is I know for a fact that you do this 24 hours a day and you love it. And you love it. It's not a stretch for you. And so if you find yourself doing something and then there's a moment in the day where you begrudge it a little bit, really think more about it, or maybe focus more on what was the part that was giving you the energy and the joy and the passion that you wanted to share with other people. And so that's the thing you should be doing. It's not even about should you be making money at it or whatever, but I would encourage you always pursue the thing that brings you that kind of joy and happiness all the time.
All right, with our last 2 minutes, what's the thing you're launching, and what's the one key thing that you want people to do, if they are watching and listening to this?
Well, I don't know if you mean like me personally. I'm not, selling anything, but what I, am doing is I do cohorts where I walk through these 4 steps with people. And here's what it is. At the end of the 4 steps, you might decide you're not going to do anything just yet, because now you have a better idea of what it is and what you have to be ready for when you launch. So then you're not launching what's your heart's passion, and then you get stopped really quickly and feel defeated. That's not the point. The point is to help you do it and move through it. So I invite people to either find somebody, but definitely I'm available. And you can reach me at Dorita at dlhatchett.com, and just send me a note. We'll set a time to talk and see if it's right for us to work together. And even if it's not, I can refer you someplace else or give you a few things to consider when you first start. But I do a cohort group where it's usually 5, 6, 7 people, and they help each other work through these issues. And at the end, some jump off and do it, and others might say, all right, you know what, let me rethink this a little bit and get ready for it. So that's what we're doing.
Value too, knowing like you think you want to do it, but there's one thing between wanting to do it and actually doing it. And sometimes you decide and going, oh, that was actually a hobby, that I didn't want to make that my career, or whatever it is. So
yeah, and you have to give yourself permission for it not to be right, and to pivot, and for it to be what it is. That's the only way you're going to get it right. And a lot of people, you don't know if you don't just go out and start it. So start it, and then you can fix it and pivot.
There you go. Dorita, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to always the stuff that you're launching. I always look forward to the times we get to collaborate. I'm so glad that you chose to come onto the show. You're the number 4, Dorita, number 4.
Yay! Well, John, I thank you for the opportunity. And like I said, this was my way of pushing through a big idea for me. And I want to thank you for the platform to do it, and for the platform for so many people to do it, and for what you've been doing and teaching people through this entire pandemic. You've changed lives, and you've changed businesses and what you're doing. So I do know that.
Here, I'll give you this card too, right? This is one of my friends, Kathy, which is, I love how awesome you are. Thank you so much, Dorita.
Thank you.
You can see her at dlhatchett, 2ts.com. Thanks, Dorita. Again, my name is John Chen, and you are just in What Could You Talk About for 30 minutes with absolutely no preparation. I will produce the show for you, all right? There's no prep. You have to just show up with a topic, but you can go to a link. I'll have to post that link. It's on my website. I will also post it as a comment to these videos. And you can actually schedule time any Friday at 4 p.m. And again, my real goals around, one is to help you get your message out. And number 2 is really find out who's in our community and get a chance to introduce them here to that. And by the way, I also, you see things like this. What are crazy cool new ways that I can mix stuff, combining on video using things like Restream and OBS and some other cool things like that. Anyways, we're here every Friday, 4 o'clock, and we will see you next week. Here we go.
What could you talk about for 30 minutes with no preparation?
Side shout out to my very good friend, Karen Schlomer, who actually sang that new jingle.